In this tutorial, I want to give you an introduction to the brand new PivotBy function in Microsoft Excel. Now, this is a great new function that allows you to get pivot table-like summaries in a way that's quick, easy, and dynamic. So here we have some data of cookie sales, and we want to make a summary with the total units sold or revenue for each different cookie type for each different country in our data set. And to do this using the PivotBy function, we can do equals PivotBy, open parentheses. Now the first argument is our row field. So what do we want to have as our rows? Well, we want to have our rows be the country, right? This example. So we need to highlight these countries right here. Column field. So what do we want to have as our columns? We want to have our columns be the cookie type we see right here. And the cookie type. Right here, or product. Comma. What do you want to have as a value? So what do you want to do the summary based on? Well, in this example, I want to have a summary be based on revenue. And then, comma function. So what kind of calculation you want to do? An example that I showed you a couple seconds ago, it is a sum. But as you can see, there's a lot of different kind of calculations you can do in your data, which is pretty cool. You can do a sum, percent of, average, median count, count A, max, min, product, rate of text, even different text functions like concat. They really can't do it in pivot tables clean like concat, and model S and GL, lambda, so on and so forth. In this example, I'm just going to do sum. And what's unique about this compared to some other functions is that you don't type a number that corresponds to the function, you type the function itself. Now, these are the only arguments that we need for the function to work. As you can tell by these are the only ones that are not in this kind of square bracket things. But, so in close parentheses, and here we have our summary. I'm going to format this real quick. Here we get a little bit of basic formatting. But one thing to note is that there are more options that you can leverage to kind of make this what you want it to be. Kind of quickly step through a couple of them. The first one is field headers. So if you select the field headers in your data, you can have them. It defaults having none, but you can tap into 1 to generate field headers but don't show. 2, generate but don't show, which looks kind of weird. And then 3, yes and show, which only looks good if you went through and selected your data. So you've selected field headers in your data. So, and the data I selected, for example, I started at row 2, but I'm going to change all the 2 to 1 to grab the headers right here. Kind of show you what that can look like. We'll change that to 1, change that to 1 to grab the very first row. As you can see, now you can see product and country, which can be helpful so you can kind of know exactly where the data is grabbing from. You Control Z a couple times. So that's kind of what I want data to look like. The next option is around the totals related to your rows. So you have no totals if you don't want totals, because as you can see, the function automatically generates a total. But if you don't want a total, you have no totals. You have only grand totals and some totals. You can have your grand total at the top. You can have your grand total and subtotals at the top too if you want to, which is not relevant because there isn't any subtotals. And it defaults having 1 just grand totals, so I'm going to leave it there. Row sort order, which you kind of use this to adjust the way you want your rows to be sorted. Column depth total, the same ideas as the totals with the row total depth. Where the column total depth just kind of surrounds the it just kind of surrounds like the total that's on the column, right? So for example, I can have -1 to have the column total on the left instead of the right. Let's do that. Columns for order again, which is kind of the sort of how you want the column to be sorted. Filter array, and the last ones I'm going to kind of skip over. I'm going to leave a link if you want to curious about how these are used, but the filter array is just not super relevant in this function very often, and the relative to is only really used a lot if you're kind of doing the like percent of function in your calculation. Method, I hope we found this to be helpful, and I mean this is extremely useful too because you can kind of generate these dynamic summaries in a way that's very, very quick. So instead of trying to make a pivot table, drag your columns, it can take a few minutes to get something like that. You can do equals pivot by, and then quickly go through and then select your data in a summary that honestly would take a few minutes to get together. Now it takes 30 seconds, which in the long term can save me a lot of time. And what I did right there a few seconds ago was press Alt, O, then A to auto format tables. So as you can see, like you can get a decently formatted summary in literally less than 30 seconds, where in the past it would just a few weeks ago actually took at least a few minutes. So I hope you found this to be helpful. If you did, like, subscribe, comment. Thank you for watching. You have a great day.